Hey folks, how's it going? This is Joe with Palmetto Land Buyers and palmettohousebuyers.com. And today we're going to talk about selling your house without the aid of a real estate agent. Now, we're going to be referencing an article that I wrote on my website, palmettolandbuyers.com, which is a step-by-step guide to selling your home in Goose Creek, South Carolina, Goose Creek being in Charleston County. Now, look, what we're talking about today is not specific to Goose Creek, although the article is about Goose Creek, and there are some nuances to Goose Creek that, are covered in this article to help you sell better in that market. But what I want to talk about on the YouTube video is a more broad conversation about selling without the aid of a real estate agent. And I'm also, let's just get it out of the way. I'm not talking about selling to a professional buyer either, right? I'm a professional buyer. You can go to my website, palmettolandbuyers.com or palmettohousebuyers.com, and you put in your information, and we basically take care of everything, right? All you have to do is negotiate price, and after price is negotiated, we take the contract, we hand it off to an attorney, we figure out all the problems, and it's smooth sailing to close. However, if you're selling, like if you're the seller and you want to take ownership of the process, and you're not selling to a professional buyer, so you're going to try and market the property like a real estate agent would, and you're going to try and find buyers and negotiate and do all the things that a real estate agent typically would do for you. If you're saying, look, I'm a seller, I'm going to do the real estate agent's job, this is what we're talking about today, right? Is how can you as the seller do the real estate agent's job and save yourself 6% commission, 3% commission, a lot of money, right? And just to put it in perspective, $100,000 house, 6% commission, that's $6,000. That's a good chunk of money. $200,000 house, that's 12 grand in commission, right? $300,000 house, that's 18 grand in commission. That's a lot of money that you're paying to a real estate agent. And so, do you need the agent? Personally, I don't think you do. But you may, right? It really comes down to this. How confident are you in your skill set? How confident are you in your ability to follow directions, right? If you can pick up if you're the type of person that you get furniture from IKEA, right, or from wherever, and you try to assemble it without using the instructions, you know how that goes. You're gonna fail, right? You don't know where the screws go. You don't know where this wood panel goes to the other one. I mean, you're probably not gonna assemble it right. And a lot of it depends on how many pieces and how many steps are involved. A real estate transaction is like the most complicated piece of furniture you can buy from IKEA, right? And then getting that piece of furniture from IKEA delivered to your house and trying to assemble it without the instructions, right? You're gonna fail. So, look, we're gonna talk broad overview of what you need to do in order to sell your house without the aid of a real estate agent. This isn't going to give you a step-by-step nitty-gritty, but, right, this could be a good starting point for you to understand the process holistically. And then you can, now that you know what you don't know, because you know the main overview of everything, now you know what you don't know, you can start to drill down into these specific areas and figure it out, okay? But look, let's start off with step one. And how many steps do we have here? 4 steps, okay? Step one, prepare your home for sale. Okay, so what does that mean? All right, you're going to want to, if you're living in the house, I would say At the very least, you want to clean the house professionally, get a good deep clean. You're going to want to declutter the house. So if you've got furniture everywhere, if you've got like junk everywhere, get some of that junk out. Go put it in a storage, right? You want clean look. You want a very, very clean, modern, simplified look. So you want to declutter. In the article we wrote, depersonalize, although you don't have to. I would highly recommend keeping pictures up on the wall, artwork, keep that up on the wall as well, because you're going to give the house some personality, right? Bare walls never look great. If you can have some art, some photographs, it really helps that buyer potentially visualize what it could look once they hang their stuff up. When it comes to furniture, I think having the house staged is always best, because there's two types of people. There are those that are very visual. They can mentally look into their mind's eye and see a space, an empty space. They visualize the furniture in that space, right? Those are the designers and the interior decorators. And then there's people like me that I don't know if the couch is going to work here or not until the couch is in the goddamn living room, right? And then when it's in the living room, I'm like, oh yeah, that does look good, or it's like, oh no, this is terrible. Why did I even bring this here, right? So you got two types of people. I personally appreciate a house that's already furnished, because it lets me get an idea of what size couch I need, what kind of size, what size a coffee table I might need. Okay, can an end table fit next to the couch? What size TV to get? So I would say it's always good to have the house staged. So if you're living in the house, it's basically staged, right, with your furniture. But if it's a vacant house, if the house is empty, you could rent furniture, and they'll bring it, they'll put it in the house, and then they'll take it out, and that really does help a lot. So I would say, prepare that would be an essential part of preparing your house for sale. Now, as far as staging, a lot of that's going to depend on how much you're selling your house for. If you're selling your house for $100,000, you're probably not going to stage it, right? It's not going to be economically beneficial for you. You're going to spend too much on the staging. But if you're selling your house for 500, 600 grand, then yeah, I think you should start considering that. Okay. Make repairs. So you're going to definitely want to repair your house. You got random, maybe you got a hole in the drywall because the doorknob hit it or whatever. You're going to want to put a stopper there, and you're also going to want to patch that up, okay? If you got a leaky roof, you need to fix that, right? You need to either patch that part of the roof, or you may need to get an entirely new roof, okay? That's important. Okay, so yeah, so you're going to want to make repairs. You may have to fix a roof. Because you're going to want to fix the roof if you've got outdated countertops. Like if you got Formica, you're going to want to put granite. You're going to want to do stuff to your house. You want to make it appealing to people. If you're going to sell it as is, it might be a little bit of a challenge for you, because if you're going at it on your own, meaning you're not using a real estate agent, you want to set yourself up for success. You want the house to be, to attract the largest pool of potential buyers possible. Look, if your house is in disrepair, it's not going to qualify for a VA loan. It's not going to qualify for an FHA loan, right? You may qualify for a conventional loan, but if the HVAC system is shot and the roof is messed up, that won't even qualify for a conventional, okay? So you want to make sure, ideally that your house is in pristine condition. Okay, you want to make sure the foundation's good. The roof has to be good. There isn't any holes in the walls. You're gonna want to fix it up. No leaky sinks, none of that. No leaky toilet. You may need to replace a toilet. I would actually recommend, if you're gonna sell your house, just put new toilets. New toilets, new toilet seats. Easy repair. You buy a toilet kit, right? And the toilet kit brings the flanges, the toilet seat. It brings everything for $100 at Lowe's. And they have them different size: 27-inch, 28-inch, 29-inch. Between $189 and $120. You're buying a whole new toilet. So think about it. You're gonna have to make these repairs before you sell. And then we talked about it already, but staging your home could make a very big difference, especially for those people who have a hard time visualizing what the house is going to look like furnished, okay? So that's step one, right? Preparing your house for sale. Okay, that's before you even list it anywhere. That's what you need to do. All right, step two, you're going to want to price your house competitively. Now, how do you do that, right? So if you were to contact an agent would do a comparative market analysis, or CMA for short, okay? So as I was saying, I'm sorry, I had a phone call. So a CMA, when an agent does a CMA, they basically, it's like a quick, I guess the best way to compare, it'd be like comparing it to an appraisal, but less, like a less detailed appraisal. And, typically a real estate agent, when they do a CMA, they go onto the MLS system. And on the MLS, they'll plug in your address, and then the MLS gives them a list of houses that have sold in the area that are similar in bedroom count, bathroom count, similar in square foot and heated square footage, similar in different aspects. And then, based off of those houses, they look at, 3 that sold nearby. They look at 3 that are currently active for sale. And really, based off of the 3 that sold is where they determine what the potential value of your house could be. So if you have, let's say you have, your house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's 1,000 square feet. It's a 1,000 square foot house. They'll look at 3 listings that sold in the area. Let's say one was identical, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot, and it sold for $100,000. One was a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and it sold for $120,000. And one was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath that sold for $90,000. Okay, they would look at those 3 and say, okay, this house is probably gonna be valued between $100,000 and $120,000. Then they look at what's currently active on the market. And they might find a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot house listed for $140,000. They might have a 3-bedroom, 1-bath listed for $120,000. They may have a 3-bedroom, 3-bath sold for listed for $180,000. Okay, so they'll look at, okay, what's recently sold, and then they look at what's active on the market. Now, the important thing about what's active on the market lets you know, what is the competition doing? So we said a 3-bedroom, 2-bath was listed for $140,000. Ideally, you'd want to be priced below that if the house is similar in a lot of its attributes. You'd want to list the house maybe slightly below for it to, so that it looks more attractive to potential buyers and you can secure a sale faster. So typically, an agent would kind of figure this out and prepare a presentation for you. However, you can also do it by going to Zillow. If you go to Zillow, and we'll go to Zillow here quickly. All right, so we'll go to Zillow and we'll look at, we'll just bring up this house right here, 27 Bethune Court in Columbia, okay? All right, so I'm gonna get out of here. Imagine our house was 27 Bethune Court, and we wanted to figure out what would be a good listing price for this house. You'd come to Zillow, you'd type in the address for your house. Okay, it's gonna bring up a page like this, but I would get out of that. Okay, where's Bethune Court? What is this? It gave me houses all the way here in the middle of nowhere. That's completely ridiculous. Okay, let's do something else. Let's look at this one here. Okay, so let's say this is our house, 808 Corn Gay Circle in Camden. All right, so what we do is we would find our house. Okay, and in this case, the house is right here. Okay. Everything in yellow, you'd go here to this filter and you click, what's sold, and everything in yellow here are houses that have sold in the area. Ideally, you want the closest property. Okay, so this house is very close. It's across the street and it's sold for $195,000. So let's say this is our house. I think I've actually looked at this house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but they have a bonus room. And we look at this house here, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right? 1,350, and this one's 2,000. So this house is slightly bigger. They're both made out of brick, so both houses are brick houses. So that should give you an idea more or less on what the house is going to sell. You can look at another house down here. It's 1,700 square feet, but we don't know the bedroom count. You see another little brick house here, 1,500, sold for 78. So that should tell you, hey, look, also in the neighborhood, we're having houses that are selling below 150. Okay. And that should, be a cause for concern, especially if if you're trying to secure maximum amount. In this case, just because the house across the street sold for 195, I would probably go ahead and try and price it similar to that. But we can also look and see if there's anything for sale in the neighborhood. So we click apply and we see nothing's really for sale around here. You got to go quite far out. And I would already say houses like this, 180 over here, 350 over here. These are completely different neighborhoods. So you can't even really depend on any of those as comparable property. Okay. See, all these houses are very far. But ideally, you'd want to, let's say if you did have a house, around here, this would be these all seem to be pretty good listings for houses. So you want to look, at most about a quarter-mile radius. Okay, so you could use Zillow. Definitely helpful. Is the data as complete as the MLS? No, it's not. But it's probably the best you can do without access to the MLS. All right, y'all. So look, I know I kind of changed the layout of this camera, and it might be a little bit trippy, but I was just messing with some of the settings, and I kind of think this is cool. You see my handwriting robot in the background. Yeah, that's back there. But all right, so let's continue. So look, as I was saying, is Zillow ever going to be as complete of information as the MLS? No, it's not. You go to Zillow, you can go to Trulia. These sites all kind of pull their information from the same place, but you might get lucky. You might be in an area where there's a lot of sales and a lot of active listings, and so you can price it accordingly. Okay. You're going to want to consider market conditions. So what are market conditions? You've got supply and demand. So how many listings are actively available? If there's a lot of listings, then you need to, if you want to sell it quick, right? If you want to sell fast, then obviously if there's a lot of listings, you want to be the least expensive listing comparable to other similar houses. So if you got a 3-bedroom, 1,500 square foot house compared to all the other 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom 1,500 square foot house, you want to be the least expensive, right? If possible. Or you want to be offering something that is premium, maybe a new roof or a new granite countertop or new kitchen, whatever the case may be. But you want to try and set something to set yourself apart. You also want to consider the broad economic environment, right now, as of the date of this video, which is we're in August 2024, interest rates are very high. So people can't really afford to buy houses right now. Not everybody, but a lot of people, because your interest rate is going to be so high, whereas in the past, it's been much lower. All right, step 3, market your home effectively. If you're going to be selling this on your own, don't skimp out on pictures. We all have iPhones and Android phones, and all these phones now have great image quality, but it's more not even about the quality of the image. Like, a photographer goes to the house, they know the angles to capture, right? And you specifically want to find a photographer that specializes in taking real estate pictures, because they know the angles. They're probably going to have a drone, and they'll fly a drone, take pictures of the property from, up front, but also from like a vantage, like an eagle vantage point up in the air. But when they go inside the house, they know how to take the right pictures to make it look big, to make it look bright and spacious. And that's appealing, right? Because most buyers are going to be surfing the internet, going to Zillow, going to Trulia, going to realtor.com, trying to find houses in your area. And if they see, ugly pictures, they're going to assume, I don't like that house. That house is ugly. But if they look at, wow, this, really, really nice pictures, nicer than maybe even the house looks like in person, at least is going to bring them there, right? It's going to take them to the house. And then, they'll be in your house looking at your house. The goal of the pictures is to try and draw people in, bring them in, so then they can look at your house. You want to get as many people as possible into the house, looking at the house. More eyeballs means more offers, or at least a higher chance of securing an offer. Because think about it, if your pictures suck, then people are not even going to show up. If nobody's going to your house, you're not going to get any offers. Nobody's looking at houses online and then sending offers without going to the house first. It's not going to happen for you. So don't skimp out. Hey, 150 to 250, right? It's about 150 to 250, maybe 300 for real high-end photography, but 150, 175 is going to be the median price there. And you get really nice pictures, okay? That's my recommendation. So get nice pictures. You're going to want to put the house for sale online. You don't have to go to websites that market themselves as for sale by owner. It's a waste of time. Nobody goes to those websites. You're going to want to go to Zillow and add your listing there. You're going to want to go to Trulia, add your listing there. Maybe homes.com. Maybe go to realtor.com. Maybe do a Google search and see if there is a service that will, let you put in a listing in one place, and then it, cascades them out to all the other real estate websites. But, get it on Zillow, get it on realtor.com. You definitely want it there, because that's where buyers are going to be looking. They're going to those websites looking for houses. Social media marketing. Look, you could post it on your page. Hey, I'm selling my house. But you're going to get a ton of eyeballs looking at your place if you put it on Facebook Marketplace. Okay. So go Facebook Marketplace, put your house up for sale there, list it as for sale by owner on Facebook Marketplace. So you want to make sure you put that in the title or in the description. Let them know, hey, I'm not a realtor. This is for sale by owner, and I'm willing to negotiate, or I'm willing to, just give me a call. Here's my number. I'll show you the house. Okay. There are a lot of people out there that are looking for houses and are also not using a realtor, so they rather deal with the owner directly. So it is a I don't know, what would you call it? It's people are looking for that. Okay. And then you may want to try open house. An open house could be good. Again, I would schedule that on Facebook, and maybe on Zillow, put that you're having it on there. And then finally, step 4, negotiating offers and closing the sale. This is where, you want to be. Everything else you've done to get to this point, okay? When you're negotiating, typically what will happen is a buyer is going to go to your house. A buyer will most likely, if it's a first-time home buyer, they will most likely be using a real estate agent. The agent will call you and say, look, my buyer's interested. They all, they'd like to submit an offer. They're thinking, $100,000. Usually they'll give you a verbal offer. If you say, look, yeah, I'm interested, I'd be interested in looking at that, can you go ahead and send a written offer? So you want a written offer, right? People can talk all day long. Oh yeah, we want to buy it for 100, 200,000, $1 million. Okay, good. Let me see the written offer, right? Because that's the important one. So you want to make sure that the real estate agent sends you a written offer. When you get the written offer, you're going to want to review it carefully. Okay? Purchase price is important, and it's probably going to be the first thing you look for. It's the first thing that I look at. And I'll share with you a story. So I'm selling a house now, and I received an offer for, I'm asking, just to give you some background, I'm asking $229,000 for the house. Well, I received an offer for $215,000. And I'm like, wow, that's a low offer. I looked for the price immediately, but then I read further, and they're also asking for concessions up to $6,000. And then on top of that, they're looking to close in 45 days. Okay. So there is a lot more to the contract than just the purchase price. You're going to want to look at the purchase price. You're going to want to look at the concessions. Are they asking you to pay for any closing costs? Okay, because that's important. Obviously, that will come out of the purchase price. You're also going to want to see how long they need in order to close. Okay, if they're getting financing, it's typically going to take 30 to 45 days to close. Okay, you're also going to want to look at broker compensation. So there's been recent litigation against NAR. NAR is the National Association of Realtors. And in the past, it used to be that it was just implied that the seller was going to pay 6% commission, 3% to the seller, and 3% to the buyer. Okay. Again, I'm talking specifically for South Carolina. That was common practice here. However, now with the National Association of Realtors being sued for price fixing, the seller's no longer obligated, or it's no longer implied that the seller's going to necessarily pay for the buyer's commission. So when you get your purchase agreement, there's going to be a clause in there where the buyer's agent's going to try and take out commission from the sale. So you need to look for that as well. You need to ask yourself, are you going to pay a buyer a buyer's agent commission? Yes or no? You really need to consider that. Now, what happens if you do? Well, if you say, yeah, I'll pay, then you need to look at how much is he charging you? Is he going to charge you 6%? Right? Which would be essentially the sale side and the buy side. Is he going to charge you 3% for bringing you a buyer? Or is he going to charge you 2% or 1%, right? You need to negotiate that. If he's charging you 6, I think that's ridiculous, right? So you would need to negotiate that with them. You need to be looking for that, okay? Ideally, you'd want to negotiate the lowest amount possible. Now, what happens if you don't? Let's say you don't want to pay the buyer's commission, the buyer's broker, the buyer broker commission. Well, the buyer broker could either be a saint and do it for free, but I doubt it. Or he might charge, he might have to charge the actual buyer that he's representing. Now, what if the buyer that he's representing can't pay it? Well, then that might prevent the sale from happening. I don't know. Again, this rule just came into effect 3 days ago. We'll see. Now, I did get another offer for $236,000 on the house, and I am not paying a seller's agent commission, but I did agree to pay the buyer's commission. So I do know that it is being stipulated on the contract now. So I will be paying that just because, look, the way I see it is I want buyers to come look at my house. If I can find a buyer that's not represented by an agent, that's great. But I also want agents to bring their buyers because I know a lot of first-time home buyers aren't comfortable with the process and want to hire somebody to come show, that'll walk them through the process and walk them through the steps. So I willingly will pay for that. I actually made a commitment that, look, I'll pay a 3% buyer's commission, but if you bring me a full asking price offer, I'll give you an additional 0.5% bonus, so a 3.5% bonus. Okay, my thought process is I want to make my house appealing to both buyers and also buyer agents, so buyer agents start to bring their clients to my house. And although they have fiduciary responsibilities, I also want them to convince buyers to buy my house because we're humans and because 0.5% commission is, on $100,000. That's what's that? That's $1,500, right? That's a lot of money. So, or no, I'm sorry, that's $500. That's a lot of money, right? And you're talking about a house is $236,000. So yeah. So you're gonna wanna negotiate these offers. And my point is, you want to look at the purchase price, but you want to look at everything else also, because there are gonna be contingencies involved in it. And you're gonna make sure that those contingencies work for you. Do you want to pay closing costs? Okay. And if so, up to how much? $9,000, $10,000, $3,000, right? They're gonna make an offer and they're gonna ask for these things. So look at the purchase price, because that's where we all go to first. We want to go see that purchase price, but then go look at the rest of the contingencies. Go look at how much the buyer's broker is going to be charging you, because that's important too, okay? Once you've reviewed the whole contract, maybe you sent it back, right, as a counter offer, and maybe they signed that, or maybe you signed the initial offer, whatever the case may be. But if you find yourself with a fully executed contract, the very last thing you need to do as a seller is find a real estate attorney and hand over that contract to the real estate attorney. Okay? The real estate attorney will take charge of everything else. They may ask you, for some information about you, social security number, things like that, because you're going to be representing you. Totally normal. but they will then start to prepare all the documents. At that point, once you've handed over the signed purchase agreement to the attorney, your job is essentially done. Okay, you need to just give the buyer accessibility to the property so they can do their due diligence. Due diligence is going to look like home inspections, appraisers. There may be like termite people that go by to look and inspect these things. So you need to give them access to the house, but outside of that, that's it. Your job is essentially done. Once you've hired the real estate attorney, your job is done. You just need to answer emails and look for that closing date. Now, the last piece of paperwork that you will look at, before you go to the attorney's office, is going to be a settlement statement or a HUD statement. It's also called a P&L. It's a profit and loss. And that sheet, what that looks like, it's split into two parts, right? So think about it as in two columns. One side of the page, the left side, is going to represent the seller's expenses and net proceeds, and on the other side is going to be the buyer's expenses and net and the amount of money they need to bring to the closing table. You're going to want to look at that HUD statement or that settlement statement to make sure that the purchase price is correct, that the taxes were prorated accordingly, that the amount of concessions are within the range that you specified on the purchase agreement. So if you said you'd pay up to $3,000 in concessions and closing costs for the buyer, you want to make sure that number is either $3,000 or less than $3,000. If you put that you didn't want to pay any concessions, you're going to want to make sure that there is no number there, right? So you're going to want to look at that settlement statement. You'll do that maybe a day before, 2 days before the closing date. And then once the closing date arrives, you'll drive to the attorney's office and you'll have the closing. Sometimes you'll close with the buyer present. Sometimes you'll close ahead of the buyer with just the attorney present. The attorney's going to give you several documents. There's going to be different waivers, so that they're not held accountable for, whatever. But several disclosures about the attorney, several waivers. The attorney, he or she will have the new prepared deed. You'd sign that as well. And then they will ask you how you'd like to receive your funds. You're not going to get cash, right? So the attorney's not going to come out with a bag of cash and give you that. However, you can say, look, I'd like a check. Okay, and then they'll cut you a check. Or you can say, I'd like the funds wired. If you like to have them wired, then they're going to ask you for your bank account and your bank account number and some routing information. Or they may have you contact your bank for wiring instructions. And so you'd bring that for you. Usually they ask if you're going to elect, they'll ask you how you want the money beforehand. They won't ask you at the closing table. So by email, you probably would have already said, look, I want to get it wired. And then they would have asked you for wire instructions. So you'd bring those with you to the attorney's office and give it to them in person. And then you get the funds wired to your house. You'd leave a copy of the key, and then the money gets wired to your account, and the deed is done. The transaction's done, and you have all this money now, okay, to buy another house or to invest in some other property. All right. Look, I'm confident that that if you took the time and if you have time available, to do this on your own, it's I'd say it's worth a try. You could save thousands of dollars. So give it a try. And again, if you've got real estate that you want to sell, please reach out to me, Joe Ortiz, 803-201-9137. You can see us at palmettolandbuyers.com or palmettohousebuyers.com. All right, thanks, folks. Hey, this is Joe.